everybody flight this morning?
Good afternoon. It's great to see everybody. I just wanted to say how exciting a day it is for the Houston Rockets, for our organization, for Clutch City Sports and Entertainment. It's also a little bittersweet from a sense that in a certain respect we're saying goodbye to the greatest owner that this city has ever known. Leslie Alexander is a Hall of Fame owner, someone who's brought us 2 championships, 4 WNBA championships, Hall of Fame players and coaches, and done so much for the city through his charitable efforts. When he became the owner back in '93, he talked about wanting to win championships and becoming the most charitable owner in the NBA. And for the city of Houston, for all of us here, that's exactly what he did. So we can never thank him enough. And I know that Tilman and Leslie have known each other for years, and Leslie couldn't be more happy or proud of this day and having the team transition to Tilman. Many have asked about the process, so I'm just going to mention a couple of things real quick before Tilman makes his remarks and then we answer questions. But during the sales process, Leslie called in July, middle of July, and he said he wanted to make a change in his life and he was going to put the team up for sale. And anybody who knows Leslie knows that once he makes a decision, it's ready to move forward, and then we have to figure out how to get it done. And the objectives he laid out were he wanted to be someone who was a Houston native, or someone who is passionate and committed to the city of Houston and all that it represents. Also someone who is going to embrace the culture and embrace the team and the resources and the people here to help us get to the next level through their passion and creativity. Someone who is going to be able to close quickly. Didn't want this to be a sales process that could possibly get in the way of what could be a really special season. And we didn't want this to become a distraction to the team. And then finally, he just wanted a fair price from someone who was prepared to close either individually or with their partners. And I think all of those objectives were clearly met, and everybody who knows Tilman knows how passionate he is, how committed he is, how excited he is to become the next owner of the Houston Rockets. So on behalf of our organization, on behalf of Leslie, congratulations, Tilman, and welcome.
Thank you. I will say it is an interesting process when I think about that 24, 25 years ago, myself and John Moores made an attempt to buy the Houston Rockets, and we lost, and that's when I realized there is no justice in the courthouse. But we got out-lawyered, but I'd never let that happen again. But what's funny is that was going on even the night before. I truly did not like the way that Les was being treated in the city of Houston, and the way the media was treating him, that a guy from New York was coming in, and I even had him over to my house the night before the injunction hearing, and we had pizza together and kind of welcomed him to Houston in case he won, which he did, and because it was just business. And it's been a pleasure knowing Les for the last 24 years. I've had him at my ranch for Thanksgiving dinner before. I've had him at my St. Louis salute many times, and of course at my house. But when it came time to sell the team, I didn't get any favors, I can tell you. Isn't it amazing? We went back to business again. But I will tell you this. I kind of went through my life, and I've had a wonderful life and a wonderful family, and lots of good things have happened to me. And I got to a point where I said, gosh, if I laid my head down on the pillow for the last time, the one thing that I ever got to accomplish was owning a team in my hometown. And I've looked at other teams in the last few years, but it's just not the same. You just can't own a team not in your hometown, as far as I'm concerned. I started listening to the San Diego Rockets when I was in junior high school, when they said they were moving to Houston, Texas with Elvin Hayes, and that's when I became a Houston Rocket fan, when they were in San Diego. So I've been on the ride from the beginning. Les kept me involved in the team. I had the 2 championship rings from '93, '94, but this is a different feeling, let me just tell you guys. And I feel very special that this opportunity came upon me. I will tell you, it was not an easy process. It was extremely stressful. We were negotiating over the storm. When I was in California shooting my show, it was not easy. And I will tell you, and I think Tad will tell you, we just kind of came in and we did it the Landry's way, and and said, we'll do this quicker and higher than anybody else. And that's what happened. And these guys were great to work with the last few weeks, bringing it all together. You know, I look at different people in the audience that I just got to recognize. Steve Shanthal and Rick Lean from my team that worked so hard with Rafael and Tad. Steve Traver, I appreciate you sticking yourself in there and doing whatever you could. It was a hard, long process, but you know what? Well, we got to the finish line, and I just can't tell you how great it is. I appreciate everybody coming out today. Had just a great warm welcome from the Rockets today. It's been fun being out here for a few days. I see some of my really good friends out here. A real Rocket guy, Scott Kelly, and his fiance Amico. And, you know, thank y'all for being here. Gosh, my good friend Dave Ward and his wife Laura Ward. Dave's such an icon in this city. You know, just numerous friends out here. If I go any further than that, I'm going to piss some people off. So it's great to have my 4 kids here. Dancy, I appreciate your help on this. My 4 kids here, Michael, Patrick, Blaine, and Blake, and my wife Paige, and my brother Todd. I'm very fortunate that my parents are still here to see something like this. Y'all stand up, mother and father. And my 4 kids, y'all please stand up. My wife Paige. And I said this, you know, earlier, and I will tell you this. This is a generational asset we look at, and if you know us, we're not big sellers of assets. We're more acquirers, and I would be extremely disappointed, and I think they would too. If any of y'all are still covering this team in 50 years when I'm not around, I think you'll still be carrying it with the Fertitta family. I think it's going to be here for a long, long time. Daryl's here. Daryl, you probably should be up here, not me. They probably want to hear from you more than me. But Daryl, we have one of the, I think, the best general manager in the NBA, and it's just great to have this manager. I know that you guys will ask me this, but you know, I do think that we have one of the top management teams in the NBA, and Tad and Daryl and Rafael and just the whole staff underneath them. So that's it. That's an opening statement, and I'll be glad to answer questions. So whoever wants to start.
Right over here, Tilman.
It's only fitting you start.
Yeah. Of the many business deals that you've done, acquisitions you've completed, now that this is official, where does this stack up?
I don't want to take away anything from the great things that I've been able to build for the Houston area, the downtown Aquarium, the Kima Boardwalk, the Pleasure Pier, gosh, the Golden Nugget, Lake Charles in this area, and gosh, you know, the 70 or 80 restaurants. But honestly, nothing even compares. Nothing compares whatsoever. This is the ultimate. It's the ultimate. You're in a club of 30, and anybody can go build a boardwalk. Anybody can go build an aquarium. Anybody can build tall buildings. But not everybody gets to own an NBA franchise. And gosh, to be lucky to have to pay $2.2 billion, how lucky could I be?
Hey, Tilman, Randy McAvoy, KPRC Channel 2. Congratulations. Talk about style. A lot of people want to know what style you might bring as an owner. Some owners stay in the background. Some are heavily involved. This is your first venture in a team ownership, being the main guy. What's your style going to be?
You know, I think that, you know, from what I did this morning before this press conference, I didn't think the players' cafeteria was very nice, and we're going to fix it. So that's the style of owner I'm going to be. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. And on the business side, well, I'll be a huge support to Tad, not that he needs it, but I'm into details. I'm not into micromanaging. I couldn't micromanage. That's how I built a business as big as I have. But I am into details. But I can tell you this, I've learned more about, I thought I knew a lot about basketball. I've learned more about basketball in the last 30 days than I learned in the last 30 years, hanging around with Daryl and the basketball people and even Tad. So not that even Tad, But no, I mean, it's a different technology and a different science than what the fan sees. And as I said, I know what I know and I don't know. I just don't want surprises. You know, has Darryl been kind enough to tell me, hey, we're getting ready to let this guy go. He's our 15th player. And are there tough decisions to make? Absolutely. And does the buck stop with me when things are good and they're bad? Yes. But I rely heavily on the people that get up and do this every day. You will not see me. There's a great owner's office up there. That is not where I will be hanging out, okay? I'll be hanging out over there on that beautiful new building, 1510 Post Office, okay? Because I have this other big $4 billion company to run. And I would go where I can help the most, okay? I can't help them over here, okay? Will I be here on draft day and trade day and hopefully every game and a few other days? Absolutely, because somebody's going to look at me and say, do you want to pay the excise tax of $15 million if we do this? So yes, I am going to make that decision, but I am going to totally rely on the people that get up and do this every day. I can't describe what kind of owner I'm going to be. Somebody said, are you going to be more like Peter in San Antonio or more like Mark Cuban? I have no idea. I'm Tilman Fertitta, and I don't think I'll be anything like Mark Cuban, who has an excellent style to be as successful as he's been, and I think Peter has an unbelievable style that fits him to run San Antonio. The people that know me, I'm just going to be Tilman.
Hi, Tilman, Kim Davis from Chalk Talk. Can you talk about what excites you most about this team, other than the fact that it is in your hometown? What did you like? What do you like so much about this Rockets organization?
Well, it's you know, I've known Tad since he started here. You know, I've sat there next to Les on the front row since, you know, this Toyota Center's open. So it's what I like about most about it is I like owning it, because I like owning things. So you know, I'm just excited. But you think about what I walked into. You know, if somebody would have said, would you have rather paid, you know, $1.2 billion and not had James Harden and a Chris Paul? Yes, I would have gone for $1.2 billion. No, I'm just kidding. You know, to walk into this situation, you know, with James Harden and Chris Paul is unbelievable. You got to remember, the name of the game is to get to the playoffs, and this is a superstar league, and you are not going to get to the playoffs every year and most likely make it to the second round if you don't have a James Harden playing with you. And you had a guy like Chris Paul, and you should get to the Western Conference Finals. And that's the way the league's going. It's 2 or 3 stars per team. And you know what? If we don't get where we need to be this year with 2 superstars, then Darryl and myself and Tad and the rest of his unbelievable basketball people, and I can tell you this, Darryl's got a group in basketball operations that are truly unbelievable, from Keith Jones all the way down to all of his analysts and everybody. So we're going to make good decisions, and we're going to do whatever it takes to win. I can promise you that.
Tilman, Laney Fritz with KPRC. With basketball being such a global sport and the Rockets being so global, is that something that excites you about owning this organization? Is something you plan to continue to extend?
You know, definitely. We really don't know where football is going. Even people that I know in football are concerned that where is it going to be in 50 or 60 years? There's nothing like the NFL. We all agree. We wait for football season. But there are people that truly don't know where it's going to be in 50 years. And then you have baseball that the average viewing age is 60 years old. And then you have the NBA that, you know, has become this true world sport besides soccer. And out of the 3 major ones, and, you know, leaving out hockey, I think this is by far the best one to have today. And I'll tell you this, I would have been scared to pay $2.2 billion for an NFL franchise today. And I know the NFL owners are like hearing that, but the NBA is where it's at.
You mentioned do whatever it takes. Have you looked already at the numbers, if you were to keep this team going forward, luxury taxes, the way it's set up now, and what's your position on doing that?
I have looked at the numbers, not because I wanted to look at the numbers, but Daryl stuck them in front of my face, so I had to look at them. And this is a real business with some really, really tough decisions. And I had no idea, you know, what tough decisions there is to make every single year. And I'm going to take recommendations from Daryl and Tad. These guys know exactly what they're doing. I want to welcome our Chief of Police, my good friend. We're very, you know, we talk about, you know, being lucky in this town, and, you know, I personally think I'm lucky. I think we're all lucky to have a Houston owner, but I can tell you to pick up Bart as our police chief from Austin, Texas, and the California Highway Patrol 10 years before that, you just don't know how lucky we are to have him.
Tilman, Barry Warner, 94.1 Sports Map.
Gosh, how are we that old, Barry? How far did
We are. Tilman, how do you spread yourself so, you know, you're already spread thin in a sense with all your responsibilities, but with the amount of time you spend as that chairman of the Board of Regents, UMH, and now adding this, how does Tilman Fertitta sit back and adjust? And number two, Wes was very much against an NHL team just to lease it to. Are you open-minded at that prospect if there was a team on the ropes that would want to move to the fourth largest city in the country?
You know, number one, I multitask better than anybody, and you know, it's easy for me to be chairman of the Board of Regents at the University of Houston because, like I said, I just need a good vice chair who likes, you know, using shovels to dig new buildings and cutting ribbons. I'm not there for the pageantry. I'm there for the heavy lifting at the University of Houston, and that's what I do. Basically, the Houston Rockets also. I'm here for the heavy lifting and the hard decisions that we can all get in a room. And I think that Daryl and Tad and Rafael have already seen in just little things that come up that I'll look around the room and say, where are you? And so that's, I like a consensus, and this is the way I operate. Either I'm going to convince you this is a better decision, or you're going to convince me. But we're all going to walk out of this room and we're going to agree. And so if you ever see a tough decision made with this franchise, you're not going to see that Daryl and me and Tad and Rafael and the rest of his operations people and my executive Steve and Rick and my three sons. You're going to see us agreeing. We're going to agree to agree, or agree to. We'll never agree to disagree. We're going to convince the other one this is the way it's going to be, and this is the way it's better to be. If everybody wants to go one way and I want to go the other, we're going to go the other way. Okay? I get 3 or 4 people going against me and I can't convince them, then I know one thing, I'm wrong. So that's just the way it is.
I think if I could just address the NHL issue, because this has come up a few different times. You know, we've looked at many NHL teams over the years, and it wasn't a matter of not wanting to bring in somebody as whether they be a tenant or not. It just, the deals didn't work. And so Leslie was always looking forward to opportunities that could make the city better, the sports scene in the city better, and Toyota Center more effective and fill more dates. But the NHL at the time, the teams that he looked at and that we looked at, the numbers didn't work, the CBA didn't work, and it just didn't work for the structure that we had in place. So Tilman and I have already talked about a number of different things. There's optionality in going forward with things that he wants to look at. And we're going to look at everything that makes sense for this building, for his companies, for the city of Houston, and how we can possibly build that. But like anything, if the numbers don't work and the deal doesn't work, then I'm not going to recommend it to him.
Remember, I think one of the reasons that I was able to buy this team was the team was going to do between 40 and say 60, 70 million dollars in EBITDA. And other buyers come in and they get caught up in the EBITDA number. Well, I knew that this team wasn't selling on EBITDA. Okay, there's never been a sports team sell for less from the time it was bought. And so while everybody else was trying to figure out the numbers, I went and figured out the money side of it. Okay, and I think that's why this was the quickest close ever and the highest price in the history of the NBA. So
history of professional sports in North America.
Of all sports.
Just technically.
Of all, NFL, everything.
Yeah.
And because you gotta pay attention to the numbers, and the NHL is the same way. I would put an NHL team here tomorrow. This one has got to work, okay? But I love to have the other dates in the building. Do I want to see Toyota Center, filled up 300 nights a year? Definitely. So we'll do whatever we can do, but whatever we do is going to make sense. But yes, will we be aggressive? Yes, that's my nature.
I'm Pooja Lodia with KTRK. Our question is, we've all noticed the Landry's logo there in the backdrop there. The question is, are we going to start seeing those restaurants here at the Toyota Center? How do those businesses and those brands play in with you owning this team now?
They plan a lot, okay? There's one company that owns everything. Fertitta Entertainment, which I own 100%, it owns the Houston Rockets, Landry, 600 restaurants, the huge hospitality division, and the huge gaming division. And I don't think they'll let me put a casino in here. There is a contract with the Levy organization for the concessions. We have a very good relationship with them, and they'll let us do basically whatever we want to do. And so yes, will you start seeing some of our brands and some of our food and maybe some better food in the media lounge before a game? Yes, okay? Because it's important to me. Not that they don't do a wonderful job, you gotta understand, I'm in the hospitality business, okay? If I'm sitting there with y'all and you need your coffee cup filled, I will go pick up the coffee cup and fill it, okay? I'm in the service business, I'm in the hospitality business, so I'm gonna try to make everything always better for you, my customer, because there's a saying that I preach every day: there are no spare customers. And that goes from the people that are buying tickets here to the media to anybody else. You're all a customer here of the Houston Rockets and the Landry's organization.
Brian Smith, Houston Chronicle. Tilman, I only ask you this because it's been such an issue in the NFL and other sports, but do you have a policy, will the Rockets have a policy for the national anthem and anything the team, the players might want to do, specifically because Chris Paul and some other players have been associated with that in the past, and Chris is the NBPA president.
What's interesting is, and which I think is really good, is the NBA has a policy, and the NBA says everybody's going to stand up for the national anthem, and I think it's really good. That's what we should do. And I totally believe in free speech, and everybody should do what they want to do on their time. They can do whatever they want to do, and but the NBA has a policy, so we're going to live by the NBA policy, just like they make me live by all kind of policies. I have to follow their policies, so I expect the players to.
Christy Reekin from the Associated Press. Since you've wanted to own a team, specifically a team in your town for so long, what do you think that feeling will be in the season opener when you're sitting there and you're watching it and it is your team?
It's kind of exciting, won't it? Who in the hell set us up with Golden State when they're getting their rings, though, as our first game? So, but, it's exciting. I mean, it's a dream come true, and very few people in life get to have every dream come true. And I can tell you that Tilman Fertitta, so far, and life is funny and you never know when good or bad is going to happen, has been one of the fortunate ones, and I get to have my dream come true when we come back here that next Saturday night, and I get to walk on that floor and look at it totally different, even though I've walked on that floor hundreds of times. This is my building and my team, and it's kind of fun.
Alex Ovario, Sports Radio 610. I know you touched on the hockey question a second ago. I just wanted to ask, has the NHL approached either of you since this has become official about the possibility of coming to Houston?
Yes, Larry Tannenbaum is the on the board of governors for the NHL with the Toronto franchise, and he and I sit next to each other at board of governors meetings. He's very excited to meet Tilman. He met him briefly during the finance committee meeting when Tilman was being approved. And I'm sure that Tilman and I will be up in Toronto at some point to meet with Larry and talk about the NHL's position, their interests, and things that could possibly happen. And Larry and I have had conversations at various times over the years. And again, it gets down to, and he understands this, it gets down to there weren't deals to be done with the teams that were available, and there wasn't a situation that made sense here for this, you know, the structure here within Houston. But everything's open. You know, Tilman is aggressive, and he's someone who's made it very clear to me he wants to see everything, and so we'll be getting him and Larry together soon.
But unlike basketball, you know, we need to make sure that hockey fans live in Houston, Texas, and Houstonians will come out and support an NHL team. When the Arrows left, I mean, I think they were only 2,000 or 3,000, 4,000 people a game. If we have an NHL team, we need to put 16,000 people in that stadium every night, 17,000, 18,000. That's what we hold here. So if I go out and get an NHL team, I'm going to ask the citizens of Houston to make sure they're going to commit to help me do it. Because, you know, once again, none of this is successful without the fans out there, and I know that.
Tilman, over here, it's a non-Rockets question, but not a non-Houston question. We've seen you at Minute Maid Park many times. What do you think about what's going on with the Astros?
I think it's exciting for the city of Houston. I'm thrilled for him. I wish Jim Crane the absolute and the whole team over there and all his partners all the luck in the world. I wish they were my team right now.
Any other questions? Great. We are going to remove the table and we're going to have a quick photo opportunity.